Well, certainly excited and looking forward to this week's preparation and playing a really good, talented, and well-coached Michigan team. But it was fun getting with the players today and getting this week going.
Rafael has a chance to break the program record for most field goals in a career. When you think of what he has meant to this program over the years, what comes to mind?
Well, there's a lot that comes to your mind when you think of Hoff, and to put yourself in that position, consistency comes up, and I also think that what's great about the game of football is it doesn't just happen, and that's defenses, offenses, special teams, putting them in those positions, but it's there's a durability to it, there's consistency to it, and there's a execution component to it. So I think there's a lot of things that go into what makes Hoff good, and I've been fortunate to be around it.
Paul, how much talent do you see on this Michigan defense, and what challenges do they present this week?
Well, it's a very talented football team, and I think they do a great job of the design of it. Coach Brown's a heck of a football coach, and so when you've got a really good scheme and talented, like you said, really talented football players, and they trust it, and I think they trust themselves, and they're playing really well right now.
What have you liked from A.J. Taylor this season, and what's kind of allowed him to become a more consistent threat?
Well, I've liked the way that A.J.'s growing, and you see it, week to week, and you certainly see it year to year. And I thought that he had a great purpose to his preparation, certainly in the off season. And I think that, like a lot of players, as you go through it and you start to do things and you gain confidence from that, and you play enough games and you gain understanding from what all the situations, what defenses are doing it, and I think you're also understanding yourself better too. So I think what's allowed him to continue to progress is his approach. It's important to him, and he certainly has talent, but he wants to be as good as he can be. So I think it's putting all that together, and what's exciting is he can still get better.
All this defense has essentially been a top-5 defense for the last several years. When you evaluated who you had this year, knowing there were a lot of young players, new starters, did you anticipate there might be some growing pains at this stage of the season?
I think that you're always, the things that happened before you can learn from. And we've got players on our defense right now that were not only parts of those defenses, but integral parts of it. And then you've got others that, this is their first year of playing. And so, our whole approach was, how do you help them grow, and how do you help them come together? And it takes individuals to be at their best for the unit to be at their best. And everyone's at a different point in their career. And so you just, the sole focus all along has been, how do we help this group by helping each individual be the best they can be, and then they got to come together as a team. And certainly, there's been moments when we've done some really good, and then there's been times where you say we got to get better from that.
Jay, now that you've had a chance to look at how successful the running game was against Nebraska, what made it go so well? Was it people doing more things right more often?
Yeah, I think that it's always comes down to execution, and that execution is guys doing their part in it. And I thought that they had confidence in the plan. I thought they did a great job of communicating to where all 11 were on the same page. And then I thought there was times when there was a good strain and there was a good effort along with the technique and execution, and that's usually is the case when you have success. And really, you could say that's with any play in football, whether it's a run play or pass or run defense, special teams, so it's all about execution, and I think a big part of it's certainly understanding what your opponent's trying to do, but then it comes down to playing the game and playing with technique and trusting that and then putting it out there.
Jason.
How much do you worry about sort of the confidence level of some of the younger defensive backs after a game where you give up a lot of passing yards?
Well, I think that, confidence is to be earned, and you just want to make sure that they got to have something to fall back on and trust, and that's when you got to trust the techniques that are being taught. You got to trust that the other people around you are doing their job, and those are all areas that we need to continue to grow and get better at.
Dennis.
The impact of Nelson being out for the first half, how does that change the dynamics, and especially with the younger D-backs?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, Eric Burrell will start at safety, and, I think it certainly affects us defensively, and also Scott did some things on special teams, so a number of people will have to step in and step up while he can't go on that, and that's it happens a lot in the season, and that's why we talk all the time. You got to just continue to work, and opportunities will come. You don't know how, and yet it's a pretty good bet that your opportunities going to come, and you want to make sure that you've worked and prepared so that you're ready for that. And that's why I feel good about Eric. Eric's done that, and he's hadn't had a lot of snaps at safety, but has been working and been around it. So he needs to have a great week of prep this week, but he's ready for this opportunity.
Brian.
I was going to ask you about Eric. I mean, he's played 19 games, so he has some experience. But going into an atmosphere like that, he could be a little bit wide-eyed, I suppose. Correct?
Yeah, I mean that's always part of it, he's got to. We can help him, and teammates can help him, but he's got to understand that, and then you go back and trust what's gotten you there, and everyone has, those first moments, and like you said, he's played in games and been in a lot of games, and so he's got to take that knowledge and experience and apply it to this one.
Shea Patterson's a classic dual threat quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
How are you guys preparing for that?
Well, I mean, certainly the quarterback's a big part of any offense, and certainly Michigan's offense, and when you've got to defend the whole offense first, and then that the big part of that is his ability to, as you say, threaten you a number of different ways, and so it always comes down to playing assignment football, and then once any play declares itself, then you got to try to get as many hats to it as you can. But I think he's continuing to get better and better, and he sure has been good this year.
Jesse.
Paul, Bradrick Shaw has been listed as questionable for the last couple of weeks. I know it's been a long road back since
Right.
his ACL injury. Is it reasonable to expect him to contribute at some point, or what are your hopes, knowing you don't want to bring him back too soon?
Yeah, I think that you want to see him keep progressing, and that's what was kind of exciting about last week, was that he was able to do much more than he did previously. And after talking with him, I think it was you want to see where they at now, and like he said, the days off were helpful. So he is making progress, and I think the worst thing we could do as coaches is try to put a timeline on a player like that, because it's not what you want the timeline to be, it's what is the body allow the timeline to be. And so the thing you know and you trust about Brad is he is a worker, and it's important to him. So there's nothing that you can do other than just hope that he's continues to make those positive steps forward, which he has been, and that's been uplifting, not just to me. I mean, guys around him. Brad's one of those guys they like him, and they know what he's gone through, and so you appreciate that. And so I don't know what the timeline will be, and Bradrick doesn't know. You just kind of keep going, hopefully taking positive steps each week and each day.
Well, we spoke about this morning, but you generated more of a pass rush against Nebraska. You'll obviously need that again, but also needing to be mindful of the quarterback and his ability to move, and then having Andrew Van Ginkel maybe closer to full health would certainly help.
Yeah, all those are very true, and hopefully we got more snaps out of Andrew than we did, 2 weeks ago against Iowa, and hopefully he continues to progress. And as everyone knows, you know, it sure helps your pass coverage when you get pressure, you know, on a quarterback. And you know, this one, they got a really good offensive line. Quarterback can extend and make plays. So that's not an easy task, but that's certainly something that, you know, if we can get that going and create some, you know, pressure, whether it's not necessarily even sacks, but just making the quarterback uncomfortable, any defense is better that way. So hopefully we can, you know, continue to improve in that area.
You look at the versatility of your running backs, and Groshek's the first guy that jumps out. You know, what he brings to the team, is that something that just seems to be getting better and better every game?
It does, you know, and Grosh does bring a lot to this team, and you know, not just this offense, and so his versatility has been important. I think it's part of who he is. You know, I think when he's playing his best, he is doing a lot of different things, and not just at running back, you know, helping in special teams. And you know, he's a smart, tough, dependable player, and I'm glad we got him.
Wild Goose had to step in for a lot of snaps on Saturday after studying the game. What did you think of his play?
I thought he certainly did. He jumped right in there, and I thought he did some good. And there's nothing like getting those meaningful snaps. And so, like anything, there's, you know, some good to build on, and yet he can continue to get better. But I think it's not easier, but it's game reps truly are different than practice reps, and so I think that can help him tremendously.
This offense has thrived in recent years using the jet sweep. How do you decide going into a game when you'll use it, how often you use it? You know, I know Cruikshank's been involved there, and
Right.
what players you'll use in those situations.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, certainly some of it's dependent on how the opponent is playing you and if it works or not when you call it.